Agriculture, Land, Reform and Rural Development Minister Thoko Didiza says government departments will begin implementing 60 recommendations of the Presidential Advisory Panel on Land Reform. 73 recommendations were made, but not all were adopted by Parliament. Those adopted include the fast-tracking of restitution cases. Minister Didiza joins me now on the line. Good evening, Minister, and welcome to the Full View. Minister, I just need some clarity here. During the press briefing, you announced that about 60 recommendations will be implemented. There were 9, I think, that were not adopted immediately, and there were 3 that were set to that is pending. What happened to the other one?
I don't understand when you say what happens to the other one.
There were 73 recommendations according to the report. According to the briefing that you gave earlier on, you spoke of 60 recommendations that would be implemented. There were 9 that you said that the department or the cabinet did not adopt, and 3 were pending. So that's 12. What happened to the other one?
Let me clarify.
Sure.
You see, if you look at the Land Panel report, they've got the main recommendation, and then they would have subsections within it which indicate at every given point what they say in this recommendation. These are the areas of emphasis that they would want government to look at. So when you take the main recommendation and those subsets, of the detail, that's what in the calculation comes to more or less about 73. Mm-hmm. So what you will find is that a broad recommendation talks to issues of land administration. They will then deal with the issue of the white paper policy and so on and so on. Mm-hmm. So land administration, all of us agree it's an important issue. However, we are saying when it comes to developing a new white paper, our view is that we can't wait in dealing with land administration, which is an immediate challenge. While we are doing work in the long term on the green and the white paper of land policy, let's address the immediate challenge that actually is causing frustration at the present moment. So that's how you must look at these recommendations in terms of how they've been structured.
Okay. Minister, sure. No, you can go ahead, Minister.
I was saying there are other recommendations, for instance, like the ones that relate to the land ceiling, the one that talks to the issue of the land tax inquiry, where we have said this recommendation, while we understand the spirit of the recommendation and why the panel might have come up with this position, our view is that it may not be implementable. You need to do more work on it. And that's what we talk about when you say not supported for now.
But what is it about the recommendation around having a ceiling or a cap when it comes to ownership of farms that needs more work to be done?
If you look within the recommendation itself, it indicates that given the agroecological zone, your ceilings may not be the same. So how do you determine what ceiling will comprise of small scale in Northern Cape vis-a-vis that in your rain-fed area, and how then do you do the management of that policy on the land ceiling? And that's where Cabinet was saying we might need to do a bit of investigation on this recommendation, for instance.
Sure. Does this at all, from the sense and the discussion that Cabinet had and looking into this recommendation, specifically the one on capping the amount of land that could be owned by a single farmer, does this, the sense that the Cabinet got from it, did it look like a push towards having a land cap for any private individual in the country?
No, if you look at that recommendation, actually there are subset issues that they deal within that context. They look at the issue of the land tax inquiry. They look at the issue of the land ceiling as one of the mechanisms in the view of the panel that could help in releasing, land that can be available for redistribution. So as I say, we do understand the spirit, but is the mechanism of how you deal with that issue that we are saying at the moment, to say you are approving without having done a bit of investigation on that one, you may actually come, put yourself into a corner, when you have not done a lot of that work.
Yeah. In the report as well, there was an idea that was mooted that some of the respondents spoke about wanting to donate land. Was this something that Cabinet looked into as well?
Yes, we did, and actually we agreed with that recommendation. What needs to happen is actually working a policy on how those donations would be made.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Minister, final one is on the Ingonyama Trust. This is the second report that suggests that the Ingonyama Trust Act must be repealed, and it seems that again government is kicking the can down the road.
No, I don't think that is correct. If you look at the recommendation of the advisory panel, it says, it recommends that government must look at either the review or the repeal of the act. So they've not been definite to say government must repeal. But what we're saying as government is that we are noting what the panel is saying. Our view is that the matter of the Ingonyama Trust falls within the broad issues of land tenure reform in rural and communal areas of our country. And therefore, we would look at it within that context of that resolution.
Okay, thank you so much, Minister Thoko Didiza, Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development.